Hello, happy hump day. Hope you're having a great day so far. So today we're going to be talking about communication, and we all know the importance of communicating and being able to communicate well so that we hear the other person, but also what we want to say is heard as well. And no doubt you've had experiences where the conversation doesn't go according to plan and you walk away dissatisfied, or you walk away confused, or you know the other person has done likewise. And when all of this has happened, your message has got lost somehow in the translation. There may be a misinterpretation of your intent or a misinterpretation of your message. The challenge, of course, is when this happens, it can damage relationships because what you're trying to say hasn't been heard, or what the other person is trying to say hasn't been heard. We all know, though, that communicating well isn't easy. And one of the biggest reasons for this is there's a difference between the pace at which the average person speaks and the pace at which we can absorb and hear information. So the average person speaks at about 125 words per minute, and yet the brain can actually understand, can comprehend, can take in a speaking rate of 400 words per minute, which means that gap makes it really easy for the mind to wander because you're hearing the other person speak. But there's also this space because you know that you can actually take in more. And so your mind wanders. When we're wandering, when our mind is distracted, we're not focusing on what the other person has to say. And so it's very easy for communication to go off track. Now, I've talked before about one of the key ingredients of good communication being the fact that you plan a conversation, particularly when it's a difficult conversation or one that you know you're going to need to have courage to step into, because it's an uncomfortable conversation. It's a conversation where you're not quite sure where it's going to go, but you know it's a conversation that you need to have. The other ingredient that's absolutely critical is something that you do at the end of the conversation, and that's reflection. Taking the time to reflect. How did the conversation go? How was I? What worked for me? What didn't work for me? It's when you reflect that you're able to sit back and work through what were my assumptions, what were my expectations, was there bias or preconceived ideas that were impacting how I was thinking, how I was processing information, and what would I do differently next time to either get a better outcome or a different outcome. It's when we take that time to reflect that we create the opportunity to better understand ourselves, which is critical, but also to better understand the person that we're having the conversation with. This really helps to take your communication skills to that next level. It also helps to take your relationship skills to the next level as well. Now, I love the quote by the American author Margaret Wheatley, and she said, "Without reflection, we go blindly on our way, creating more unintended consequences and failing to achieve anything useful." It's really powerful. And reflection doesn't need to take a lot of time. But the challenge, of course, is you're busy. Everyone's busy. And so it's about making that conscious, deliberate effort to carve out some time in your day to do this, particularly at the end of a day that's been a big day for you, a really important day where you've had lots of those difficult conversations. And when you're doing this reflection, I want you to think about a couple of things. Firstly, how prepared were you for the conversation? How did the conversation go? Did the conversation progress as you thought it would, or did it somehow weave or go into a different direction? If so, why did that happen? What was going on for you during the conversation? And by that I mean, how were you feeling? Were you feeling good? Were you feeling comfortable? Were you feeling uncomfortable? Were you nervous? Could you feel anxiety rising? Could you feel your heart start to beat a bit faster, or clammy hands? All of those signs that you're gone into that fight or flight state. Did that change during the conversation, or was it a fairly consistent emotion that you were feeling? What do you think was going on for the other person? How do you think they were feeling, and how were they reacting to the conversation? Do you think there were any assumptions, preconceived ideas, or bias from you that was impacting how the conversation was going? Your outcome, what you wanted to get from the conversation, did you achieve it? Do you need to go back and have another conversation? And if so, what would that look like? And most importantly, what would you do differently next time? What are your learnings from this? This sounds like it can sound like something that's a big amount of effort. It's not. Once you get into the habit of doing it, it's something that you can very quickly reflect on the train on the way home, on the bus on the way home, at the end of the day when you're having a few minutes of quiet time. Write those learnings down. And the reason why it's good to write them down is that over time, what you can do is you can go back to those learnings and look at the progress that you've made in terms of understanding yourself, understanding the people that you're interacting with, and how you're managing and holding deep, important conversations. Take care, and I'll see you next week.